So my name is Zahab Nabeel, and I work as a systems engineer with OSIsoft. As a systems engineer, I help our sales team enable you guys to reach your digital transformation goals. And while we are talking about those goals today, our focus would be on incorporating event frames into your operations. The agenda looks something like that. We would start with an introduction, then we would talk about the event frame context, best practices, and then summarize the talk and have lunch. So let's start with introducing event frames. What are event frames? Anybody in the audience who uses bookmarks on their internet browsers? Can I see a raise of hands? A lot of people, right? That's what event frames is for your time series data. These are data bookmarks for your time series data. If you remember the talk from our Chris Nelson and Greg LeBlanc on the day one about our headquarters, where we had an issue that we had window tinting, but the light was too bright. A critical operation over there, something of importance to us, was the light levels when they go too bright. That was an event for us. Similarly, an event can be a downtime of your pump. It could be your batch process. Anything that is critical and of importance to you that needs to be bookmarked. So what does an event frame include? The characteristics are it always has a start time, end time, and a context. Start time, end time, since it's a data bookmark in time, makes sense. Let's look a little bit more up at context. So while looking at the context, you have information about the asset with which this event is associated with. For example, your pumps, your wind turbines, your boilers, whatever it may be. Then you have text entries, like which operator shift was working, what is the manufacturer of your pump, anything that is text, your metadata. It also helps you later on when we are capturing and utilizing these event frames to kind of filter them using these text entries. Then we just don't want to get data from sensors and do some calculations. There are operators who look at these devices or assets on their own, and they are the subject matter experts. They have some expertise to enter to it. So it allows to enter contextual, manual data as well. Lastly, the calculated data, which uses the event frame start and end time. So let's say when my pump is down, I want to know how the electricity consumption was during that period in my plant. Anything of that sort which needs the start and end time of my event frame. Talking about that, that's how usually an event frame looks like. So this is a batch process from pulp side. So you have your event frame, and if you look at that expansion sign, I expand it, I can see that under this process, I have two different procedures, which are the child event frame. So you can have parent and child. If you notice the second one, I have another plus mark over there, which allows me to expand. So if I expand over there, I can see that within that process, I have grandchildren event frames. So similarly, you go below the hierarchy of these script event frames. And once you have looked at the event frames, you can get more information from the context side that we looked at the previous slide. How do we create these event frames? So currently, the three possible ways that we are giving to our customers are batch framework interfaces, asset analytics, and AF-SDK. Do I have someone in the audience that uses batch interfaces? No. Asset analytics to create event frames? A lot of people. Cool. And what about AF-SDK? 2. Oh, that's great. So today we would focus on asset analytics only. We spoke about asset analytics in the previous talk, but for the folks who just joined, I would do a quick recap. Asset analytics allows you to perform calculations on a specified schedule. You use AF attribute values as inputs, and its output could be your calculation results, results of your roll-ups, event frames, which we are talking about today, or statistical calculations. So now let's talk about building this event frame context. Every project, every new task you undertake should always start with a why question. Why am I doing it? So over here, The why question would be, why do these critical events matter that I'm capturing? Why should my users invest into event frames? So let us find some answers to it. Well, critical events define success or lack thereof. So if you want to look at your best up times, where your plant was performing the best, the shift that got the best shift award, let's say, for the year for their performance, there could be a million of cases that would be of importance to you. It varies from people to people, task to task. So how do you want to learn from that? You want to learn from that based on data, and that's where it drives success. Then you're looking at different vendors for your pump, and you want to see which one required most maintenance, which one had most downtime. That's where the lack of success that came in, and you don't want that lack of success to continue. You want to learn from there, and you want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So this is where event frames should really, really have a direct impact on solving your business problem. So how do we go about creating event frame context? It's a whole journey. It's not just you set up an analytics and there you are. Every process should start with planning. So first thing, you need to define a business case. You need to have a goal. You need to know what positive impact this is going to bring to me. You need to have a realistic time horizon. I always say start with the quick wins. Don't start with something which is too big, and if you get your quick wins, you're motivated to go further to your end of your journey. But if you have a big goal which you're not reaching, it can be demotivating. And make sure which audience is targeted in your business case, and they are involved in this process. Once you have a business case, you need to create your measurable objectives. You need to know how your business case is applicable. What would be the tangible outcomes? So make sure your outcomes are very, very tangible, and how the event frames would be utilized. What would be the number of event frames that would be created? Would it go to some insane number? Then perhaps you need to go back and see if your objectives are actually measurable. What are the attributes you're capturing that actually correspond to your business goals? So this is where you need to use event frames also in a measurable format, so you know it matches your goal. Then you go about creating your event frame, implementing it. So this is where you create templates. We are not going to ask you to create event frames for 500 pumps one by one. You create one, it works with 500, it works with 5,000, it works with 50,000. We want you to verify your event frame creation methods to see everything went as per your goals. We want you to test if the event frames are being created appropriately, and then go about recovering them. So when I talk about recovering them in event frames, we allow you to go back in time if you have the data and recover them if you want for a year, for 5 months, for 6 months, whatever your business goals are. So it's never too late to start. So the folks who did not raise their hand when I was talking about which method you use to create event frames, so you're not using event frames, now's the time. It's never too late. Evaluation. Evaluation is a continual process. You don't stop right after creating your event frame. This is something that you keep doing throughout your journey. This is where you see if your measurable objectives were met, your appropriate event frames were created. Did it have a direct impact on your business case or not? And business cases change with time, context change with time, your needs change with time. So this process should be repeated again and again. It just doesn't stop right after the implementation of event frames. Let's look at the same diagram from an example standpoint. So I'll take the easiest example that I always use, pump downtime, usually understandable by most of the people. So we want to do a calculation on pump downtime alarms. They are of interest to me. Who is being impacted by it? Well, internal team as well as my customers. What would be the time frame for that? Well, downtime, usually if something is down, it's easy to calculate, so I can pretty much immediately start implementing it. Lastly, who is the target audience? Well, it's the equipment operators that are going to look at it. So that defines my entire business case. Of course, it's not just 4 bullet points. It would be something bigger than that, but that's the core of it. Then measurable objectives. What is my objective here? I want an event frame that spans this downtime of the pump. I want to know the reason code, the reason behind this downtime. What was the duration? And then I want to utilize my event frames to actually consume these event frames. In implementation, same process, create templates. I can read the pump status code from my attribute data if I have it. So that goes back to my measurable objective and attaches to that. I could map my attributes accordingly. And in the end, I go for the recovery as I wouldn't be interested in seeing event frames from now and later. If I'm doing some business case, I also want to look at the historical data. Last thing, evaluation. This is where you ask yourself, was my business case met? Were my measurable objectives met? Were the events created in the appropriate, timely manner as I expected them to be? If not, go to square one, start the process again. If yes, go to square one again after few months, quarterly, or however your business goals change, because evaluation is a never-ending process. Now that we have created our event frames, or at least gone through the methodology, let's talk about capturing meaningful data. We don't want to just capture event frames which don't mean anything to me. So one thing that I want you to remember, you need to keep asking this question to yourself, especially throughout this section. What percentage of event frames are utilized after creation? That's a very important question, and let's see how we address it. We want you to capture meaningful data and not all data. All the Pi users out there, if you want to collect all the data, we have Pi Data Archive for it. Event frames is not the right place. If you want to collect all contextual and metadata, Pi Asset Framework is the place for it. It's not event frames. Event frames is only and only for data bookmarks. So that's only when you go over there. You don't start calculating, collecting all the data over there. And if you're doing that, then you need to reevaluate your business case and use the right product for it. So the ideal scenario is in event frames, you capture only your critical event contexts, only critical events. But the observed scenario sometimes we see where customers have a lot of event frames is that we as humans have the tendency to capture anything and everything if I can, you know? If I can, why not, sort of thing. And that's not the right approach. So this is where the problem comes in. So the problem statement is, what counts as critical event context? What events need to be captured? And the answer to both of these questions is very simply answered over here. Create a business case. If you have a business case, you have well-defined problems, you know what is critical to your operations, you know what is critical to your goals. And that's where a business case comes in handy. The most important state is the planning stage. If you have planned properly, implementation is pretty simple, thanks to our easy-to-use interface. Then you create an evaluation process, which I said is a never-ending process. So this is where you go, you modify your templates, you delete your templates, you add more templates, you do more asset analytics, which drive your goals. So the result of using this approach is the addition and deletion of templates and analysis, which I already covered. You can do bulk event frame recovery and deletion, so you find something was not matching your goals or something new has been added to your goals, just delete everything, click of a button, recreate everything with your new algorithms. You refine your business case. Your business case grows with time. It just doesn't stop there. So that's pretty much the result. What's stopping our customers from doing that? So I've collected some quotes, what we hear from customers from time to time. First one, we may need these in future. Well, I'm like that with life. I have my first registration schedule paper from my university back in 2010 still sitting on my office table. I never found the courage to throw it. I was like, I might need it sometime. That's not the right approach about event frames. These event frames are essential to our operations. You get to hear this every now and then. And then we don't know who may be depending on these event frames. Big companies, it's not that easy to be aligned with everyone. But all of these questions, one solution. We go back to our same recommendation. Just ask yourself, what business case is directly being impacted? And if you have a well-scripted business case and you ask yourself this question, you would find an answer to all of those hesitancies. And once you find the answer, repeat your evaluation process and update everything accordingly. So capturing meaningful data, the takeaways from this session. Capture meaningful data, not all the data. Leverage your business case accordingly, modify it, and use it as the frame of reference. And utilize the strength of the Pi systems. Don't be shy in doing recalculations, mass deletions, creating new templates from scratch, and doing everything from scratch. Pi system makes it very easy for you, and that's why we need you to do it to reach your business goals. Now let's start talking about best practices for the creation of event frames. We will cover derived templates in this session, event frames with varying severity, and event frame calculations. So derived templates, if you look up on the screen, you could see that there is a hierarchy. You have your event frame templates, and within that you have global pump events, all the pumps you have. Then you have something underneath it, standard pump downtime, standard pump excursion. So you are calculating two different types of events, capturing two different types of events, I'm sorry. Then you have your different types of pumps. You have centrifugal pump, diaphragm pump, turbine, and so on. So see, all the pumps should have something in common, right? So that's where you have your global template. So if I want to change something at a global level, I don't have to go through each and every site, each and every type of pump. I use that template. And then if I want to change something in site A, I just added a new, let's say, operations team. And I just want to add their name, or I just want to add a variable where I get their name. You just go to site A and you add it. You don't have to do it for all the 500 pumps that you have in that site. So that's how it helps. Let's look more into it. It creates a hierarchy for you, as you just showed you, which enables you to do efficient searching. We would look at an example on the next slide. It provides you comprehensive results. If the searching is efficient and it's filtered in the right manner, the results are comprehensive. At the same time, it standardizes your event frames and attributes. So as I was talking about standardizing event frames and attributes in a way that if there is a change in site A, I can just go and change the template for site A. If there is a change for entire pumps, I go to global pump. It doesn't matter. I have my location of pumps in 15 different countries, 30 different sites, whatsoever. It changes just by a click of a button. So let's look at how search is convenient. Now I'm an operator or maintenance guy. I want to look at results from my site, site A. I can simply search for all my site A events, and I have them in one place. I can do that for downtime. I can do that for excursion. Then, if I want to see all the events associated with my centrifugal pump, I can simply search for centrifugal pump events. So different people, different data needs, and we assist with that. Then, if I want to go up and look at all the excursion events, regardless of the pump type, regardless of the location or anything, I can do that. Lastly, if I want to get all the pumps, I can just get the global. I believe that would be a very rare case that would be required, but hey, the functionality is there if you need it. We provide you a way to do it. Let's talk about event frames with varying severity. If you look at the screen close, you can see on the right corner a severity column where you're seeing critical, minor, and major. Critical, minor, major, and then critical. Let's see how this all happens. But before that, why do we need these varying severities? It helps you create multiple child event frames. So you want one start trigger to be true to create an event frame. That's where you use multiple severities. Only one event frame would be created, and it would have only direct children, no grandchildren over here. And then we are talking about ideal use cases for that. Where do you think it would be useful? Well, if you have increasing or decreasing severity in your alarms, usually, I mean, something starts small, a leakage in the pipe, small leakage, something minor. After some time, it starts affecting your equipment's health. Major, after some time, maybe it's going to burn the whole plant down. That's where it gets critical. Bad example. I like those though. It helps you to monitor simple processes, and it helps you with grouped alarm scenarios because it groups everything under one event frame. Do I have anyone in the audience who is using event frames with varying severities? Raise a hand. Well, good 5, 6 people, so that's cool. Well, my manager is using it too. So what are these minor, major, and critical? So some examples of that would be if your pump speed is greater than your high limit, that would be a minor event. If your pump speed is greater than your high limit, that could be something with a major severity. And if it's greater than your maximum limit, critical severity. Much better than my example of burning the whole plant down. So these are some of the examples that you could use for multiple start triggers. Obviously, you could have a different need, and it could be also addressed using this functionality. So now let's look at it, how it works. So I have my one event that started at 1st April, if you are in US, if you are in Europe, 4th January. It's a minor severity event, and then you see that my event's severity just changes to major over there. What's happening? Well, I had multiple start triggers. One was true, now the other one is true. If we go on, we see that that minor event ended, and its end time became the start time of my major event. So my major event started. Then, all of a sudden, my top severity goes critical because now my critical severity condition is met. So the end time of the other guy becomes the start time of my critical event, and my event closes. So when I look at my close of event, the close of event would be at the same time as the end time of my critical event. And my overall event has the severity of critical because it would take the highest one that's available within the direct children. Makes sense, because if there is something critical under my event, then obviously overall that event becomes critical for me. So that's pretty much how the event frames with varying severity changes. With this, I would just like to speak a little bit about event frame calculations. Our last chat was about analysis and all that, so it all applies over here. Event frame calculations use the same library of asset analytics. It uses variables and gives you expression outputs. The only difference or the unique selling point of it is it allows you to do contextual analysis. It allows you to use the start time and end time and the duration of your event frame to do your calculations. How is this helpful? Let's have a look. First of all, just to explain you, it would capture all these values at the time of your event frame close. It stores these values in your asset framework attributes, just like in analysis. And just like analysis, you can also store it in a pi tag, and you can have historical values of these. A simple example of such a calculation is me calculating the pump speed, average pump speed during my event, using the start time and end time of that event. A very simple example. So why would I use that? I would use that whenever my calculations require the event frame context. I want to know what exactly was going on during my event frame time. Or if I want to capture information that is unique to this particular event. So I don't want to do this calculation all the time, but hey, I'm going through a maintenance period, and that's my event of interest, and I want to know during maintenance period how my rest of the plant was performing. You could use the start and end time, and you could have like a performance calculation over there. You could do conditional calculations. You're monitoring your different shifts. Well, coming back to our best shift award. So you can see which shift was performing the best, and you could do calculations associated with the start and end time of those particular shifts. That's pretty much event frame calculations. With this, we would move to our next topic of the presentation, the best practices while visualizing event frames. So we would talk about reason codes over here, pinned events, event frame comparison, and event frame details. Reason codes. We often come up with this question: how can we write back to event frames? How can operators update event frames with pertinent information after the fact? I was talking about it earlier. Those are the subject matter experts. Those are the guys who are looking at that pump while the downtime is going. They have more information to add. We just don't want to rely 100% on the sensor data. We also want our subject matter experts or the observers to give their input. That's where reason codes come into play. They write back to the event frames, And you can also have enumeration sets as you see on the screen. So you could have different enumeration sets, which could be multi-tiered. So you have like deviation, maintenance, out of range, and further reasons underneath them. Who here has seen something like that? Or the question would be, who uses PyVision for event frames? A decent number of hands I can see over there. That's good. So if you look at that pencil-looking thing on the screen, if you click on that, that's where you add your reason code. So I click on that. I'm an operator or a maintenance guy. I was seeing this pump. It had an issue, so it was assigned to me. I have my tablet, my cell phone in my hand. I open PyVision, and I can simply add the reason so I can provide this meaningful information to the rest of my colleagues or other systems that would be feeding this information. So here I just chose deviation high high, and now everyone can see what exactly is going on. Reason codes is as simple as that. Now talking about pinned events. So if you look at the screen, I can pin certain events as reference. They could be my, let's say, best events which I'm using as reference, or it could be an event which I'm doing root cause analysis on, and I want to see how it corresponds to other events. A lot of things. So over here, I have my two pinned events, and I'm looking at them on the screen with respect to other events. What I can see over here is this is my upper limit. So my pinned events are upper limit and lower limit, and I'm seeing if something deviated that. Clearly, the blue one over there deviated over that. So my upper and lower limits are here, but if I look at the event frame of interest to me, it's showing some deviation. And that's where I can, especially if I'm doing batch processes, I could catch abnormalities, anomalies right on time. I could see where something went wrong, and I could save a lot of loss before it goes and feeds the entire batch. Event frame comparisons. It allows you to view and analyze data with event time range. So I'm interested when my downtime was happening, what other things change associated with my assets, or what other events were performing as during that. So it provides me like a contextual visualization, and it allows me to do compare like events and analyze root causes, items of that sort. So let's take this example. I have my screen, let's just zoom into it. So over here, I'm looking at event frames and a lot of child event frames. So let me just go and choose a certain period where I have a few child events. So it could be my process, like we were looking at idle process in my example earlier. We were looking at that process and we had like idle time, or let's say where the process was happening. Let's say the process was happening over here. I align and zoom into it. Now I can only see this child event frames within this time range that I'm talking about. And I can very clearly see quickly that most of the things meet my upper and lower limits. There is just this one small deviation around here. And again, I can take a corrective action just based on this information that I received. When I'm doing comparison, are these graphs enough? What we are looking at, just one variable, is that enough? No, right? I want to see other things as well, other things associated with my event or my asset. I want to, let's say, I want to see what were the metrological variables looking like during my event. Maybe when it's really hot, my pump starts performing bad. It could be a relation. You can find a lot of things while doing root cause analysis. So it allows you, for now, if you could see the screen clearly, you would see that we are looking at temperature, and based on temperature, we are actually seeing the limits, and we are seeing how our different events are performing. But hey, if temperature is not all that I need, I can just go to my asset, simply drag and drop my tank levels, and now I can get the same information with respect to my tank levels. I can choose pressure, whatever information I have, I can just drag and drop right there. And simple as that. I can do comparisons, root cause analysis, I could see what's going well, what's not going well, and take my decisions based on data. Last thing in visualization, the event details page. So you can analyze your one particular event on its own. So here, I have a trend of my entire event. I have the variables under which I could just pick and they would be trended over there. So I could remove them, add them. I could see how temperature and pressure correspond to each other, how levels make a difference, whatever is the variable of interest to me. I could also go ahead and click the acknowledge button and acknowledge that, hey, I'm aware of this event. I'm looking into it. So my colleagues can see that when I press acknowledge, it would just show a check mark and it would show my name that, hey, this person has acknowledged the event. So it's kind of, assigning the work task to yourself or letting people know that, hey, I'm aware of this. Once I have looked at it, I can also see if I was using Pi notifications, was a notification sent out to other people? Are they aware of that? So I'm getting that information that one person got a notification about this particular event. Then I can also see if someone else has added a comment about it. Has someone else seen it? So I can see that there is a person who is investigating vibrations on this pump. So there is some investigation going on. As I said, the observer's information, subject matter experts' information is way more important when we are analyzing that because those are the guys who are actually looking at the thing, they know more. Similarly, we were looking at our reason codes earlier. I could just go and I could select one of the reason codes if I have observed it and I know what exactly is going on. That's pretty much visualization, and now we would talk about the last bit of this presentation, which is about utilization of event frames. So in utilization, we are going to talk about indexing important attributes, bulk event frame deletion, and event frame searches. So what is indexing? Well, if you have certain attributes with your event frames that you use more often than others, and they're part of your regular, tasks, you could just index them for better performance. So you get quick search results and fast value retrievals. Simple as that. So what does it do? It improves performance with your stored attribute values. And its behavior differs from indexing in elements because in event frames, everything is pretty much stored in the SQL if you're capturing it. So it's easier and faster to search for that. So anyone using event frames, have a lot of event frames, I would really, really recommend you to use indexing for the events that are of interest to you on regular basis or the attributes that are of interest to you on regular basis. Bulk event frame deletion. Has anyone used the AF diag command line utility? Can I see raise of hands? Well, apparently only internals have used it. You should use it, so that's why I'm showing it to you now. Until our previous releases, we allowed you to delete all the event frames from one starting time. So this AF-diag utility used to have only one parameter that you could specify, a start time. So hey, 4th April, 5 p.m., delete all the event frames after that. But now we have enhanced it, so you could use your database name, you could use start time, end time, you could use template. So it helps you with bulk deletion, and deletion is important, as I was talking about earlier. You always need to go back to your evaluation process, see if your business cases are being met, and then accordingly, if not, delete them. If you need to modify it, you could recalculate, delete, and modify. So please don't be shy in using this utility. It's very important and very powerful. Last thing, how to do best practices while doing event frame search. First thing I already gave up, utilize indexed attributes. Our latest release also helps you to use simple queries like time range and an attribute. So you could use time range, attribute, and you could say, hey, I want to see all the events from this date to this date where my level was greater than 50, greater than 60, and it helps you filter and return faster searches. And utilize event frame hierarchies. We already saw an example of how we do search using event frame hierarchies. It's very convenient. With this, I would just move to summarize our conversation for today. So I'll just give you a few key takeaways. Always and always start with the why question. If you don't have an answer to the why question, nothing else matters, because if you don't know why you're doing it, what's required of you, then you're not going to meet your event frame goals. Business case is the key. Until you have not developed a business case, until you don't know what exactly you're doing, there is no need to go ahead and create your event frames. You need to have a solid business case that you're going to address with your measurable objectives. Each and every event frame should contribute to your overall goal, which was defined in your business case. And if it's not doing that, then something is wrong. Go back to evaluation process. I keep sending you back to evaluation process. Redo it. Capture only meaningful data, not all data. We are all human. We all have that in nature. I have it, but hey, that's not the right approach. And we are talking about best practices today. Remember, context and your critical events both can change over time. While you were going through a maintenance process, certain events would be of more interest to you while you're going through your normal operations. What is critical to your business changes. Your business nature changes. Companies develop and evolve into something completely different from what they were, like OSIsoft. If you saw our first conversation on day one, you saw where we started and now how we are a product software company. So everything changes. Keep re-evaluating. So the final thing, evaluation process is necessary, and always keep going back to that. Here are my contact details. The name is Zahab Nabeel. My email address is there. Feel free to reach out to me. You have anything feedback associated to our products, please use feedback.osisoft.com, because this is the only way where we know what you're looking for, and we do enhancement as per your votes on that website. So we follow a very democratic process. And remember, if it is not shared on our feedback portal, then probably we are not working on it. It didn't happen. So if you find something that you want to enhance, go and talk about it over there. Thank you very much. So questions, survey on the app, fill that. Mike, do some running.
Thank you. I have a question about the event details visualization.
Yes.
Will it support the new ad hoc trend analysis?
To be honest, at this point, I'm not sure, because ad hoc trend is for attributes. Mike, do you have information on that?
We'll have to get back on that one.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Try the booth.
If you go to our AF booth, you can get more information, because it's something which is not released and I haven't worked on it yet, so I'm sorry, yeah. Any other questions, please? Come on, I want him to run around.
No?
No? Everyone is excited for lunch?
Everybody's reevaluating.
All right, so let's go and grab some lunch. Thank you very much for being such a good audience. Thank you.